have these 30 million buyers, diners who dine in restaurants that are reservation-centric restaurants. Don't ask me where we came up with that number from, I have no idea. And so this is what they look like, right? So, woo! And then you've got these 100,000 sellers, these restaurants that are out there. So these are reservation-centric restaurants, not your Chili's, your Chevy's, or your Macaroni Grills, those types of things. But the interesting thing about going after the small guys is you never get a big fish when you do it, but we had all the market power there. So none of them were big enough to say, okay, I will take your product if you customize it this way. And you're like, well, we can't do a custom product for every restaurant, so we can't get to you now. We'll put it on our list. We'll get to it when we can. We'll come back to you in 6 months, and hopefully, we've got something. And so, with not having to sell to these big guys, and that's why if you look at a lot of the point of sale companies, the companies who sell the terminals where people put in the orders, at the restaurant, a lot of those guys don't trade at very high margins or relative to their revenue because they have such large engineering departments because they have to support all these custom versions or all these specific products. Whereas every time you have a new product, you have to have different customer service people, you have different installation people, so there's a lot of this sort of overhead that goes into that. So for about the first 8 years of the company, we had 10 engineers, period. Now there's like 150. And then what OpenTable's job was to bring these two sort of markets together. And watch this part, this is really fancy. So being this market maker there and protecting that OpenTable brand so that we weren't this invisible technology in the back end that could be, City Search or Metromix or whoever else could invent their own sort of system to compete against this. So one of our investors was Zagat, the maroon dining guide. And they used to be a very powerful brand in a lot of markets, and they're still doing okay in New York. But they actually invested in us in our Series C, and then 3 weeks later invested in our biggest competitor the same amount because they wanted us both to win so that we could fragment the market, but then they could be the single aggregator at sort of this central level. And so, wasn't a happy day that day when we heard about it. But we knew that in order to enjoy this sort of premium that we were getting, that we had to be this market maker, the single market maker. So we've been fortunate enough to we've probably got about a 97% share in the United States. There's a couple competitors that we have. So this strategy has done us well. And now our cost of sale, where it used to be about $4,700, is now about $350 or something like that. And that's like 90% of its commission that we pay the salesperson. So, the other costs have almost disappeared because we're starting to get so much velocity. And the interesting thing is with this, you start to create this increasing returns model, this network effect model. So San Francisco, the market we've been in the most, is still to this day has our #1 salesperson because it's tipped in that market so that now no restaurant almost will open without OpenTable. And this to me is the biggest reason why OpenTable succeeded.